Yo, what's up, guys? Gray here. Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're doing another episode of JumpStart. And today I'm joined with
Jonathan Ronconcio, and I'm 20, and I live in Tyler, Texas.
So tell all of us a little bit about yourself, your financial situation. What do you do for a living?
All right, so I'm currently a full-time college student. I work at an engineering firm. I don't want to give the specific location of
That's
it,
all right.
but yeah, I mainly do college right now, and then just some other adventures on the side.
That's cool. Well, yeah. All right. Well, you definitely do a few other adventures on the side. We have them all listed here, and this is going to be quite fun. I will say, out of everyone on this show, you probably have one of the most dynamic portfolios, which is where I feel like we're going to have a very good conversation.
Yeah.
Which is also why Zayden's been telling me not to talk to you about money for like a week and a half now.
It's kind of fascinating because I don't have any stocks. Like, I don't know how.
Your portfolio is very different from a traditional.
Exactly.
And it's very diversified. I don't know about well diversified.
Yeah,
but we'll get into it.
We'll get into
everyone has their different opinion and risk tolerance, things like that. But so out of your portfolio, trying to get an idea of what finance is going to look 1, 5, 10, 25 years from now, what's kind of your goals in like the short and long term, financially at least?
Yeah, so my goals are to at least be financially stable at some point. Maybe in 10 years, I want to have the ability to where my assets are producing more than my liabilities. Yeah. So I can pretty much just choose not to work, and I would be able to survive maybe on like $1,000 a month. And realistically, that's not possible. But, you know, if you find a cheap place to rent with some friends, it is. Yeah. But yeah, it would be a place where I could have enough money to pay my bills throughout the
coming
month
in from your assets and everything like that. Yeah. So which assets, so again, we just mentioned how you kind of, and we'll get into it, how you have a little bit of a different assets. Your portfolio is mixed up a little differently. Yeah. So when people think of income coming in from their assets, at least what I think of is stocks gaining, like they're gaining a percentage, and either with dividends or just growth from the stocks, you kind of live off that growth. But for you with your different stuff, what do you feel is going to bring the most wealth to actually cover a lot of that? Which assets do you think are going to bring that wealth in?
Yeah, so I think the biggest one is obviously going to be my job. That's like one of the biggest places I invest future learning. So that's why I'm going to college for electrical engineering, because, you know, it's going to pay off pretty well, and I also enjoy it. But also, I am a part of this kind of startup, if you would call it. It's called TCC. We're still getting things in the movement, but it basically is like becoming your own bank in a sense. And I know Grayson has a lot of issues with it.
This is why we're doing this whole episode, is to talk about it. I have a lot of questions.
It's going to be exciting, and we'll see if I'm able to answer all the questions. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can't even answer all the questions because I know that we're both still learning, both in whichever financial journey we're on.
For sure.
But, so we'll get to that later on in the episode. So we'll start... part of this show is going through. You've only seen half an episode. My mom doesn't even know what the show is. But going through, so we'll go through each of your kind of individual accounts. And so we'll start with just your basic spending.
Yeah.
What do you think you spend in any given month? Just off the top of your head. I will say I'm looking at September.
So, funny story. I live with 6 other people. We rent a little house. It's pretty fun.
What is that like?
It's a good time. It's enjoyable. It's kind of crazy at times.
Are they all your age, or what's the?
Yeah. So the oldest is 21 and the youngest is 19. So it's just like a bunch of young guys in a house. It's pretty much like a frat house. I have a triple bunk bed in my room and 3 PCs.
Zayden, write this down. We're doing this at some point. Yeah.
It's kind of wild, but it's a fun time, and we like build each other up. So, you know, it's really beneficial in the long run, and I would recommend everyone to do it. It's a way to save.
Yeah.
You know, you're not paying $1,000 in rent. I mean, my last month rent was $272.
Dang.
So it was very, very cheap. I mean, I pretty much could make that
equally,
in like a
do you know, is it equally distributed between all 6 people?
Yeah, it's equally distributed between all of us. And sometimes we have someone like couch hop. So we'll like, hey, you can pay $100.
Yeah, you can stay here for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So
nice. And then is that just rent, or does it include your bills?
Like so that's rent. Utilities is usually like $60.
Okay, that's not bad.
So I would say
for 6 people, that water bill, that electric bill, all that's got to be high.
Yeah, it is pretty high at times. But for that, I would say maybe $600 a month.
Okay.
I would
just
say
for
that's
everything,
around, yeah,
like included,
including
okay.
rent, utils, groceries.
It's actually really good. Yeah, nice. Well, yeah. So with everything else, so if that's what you're spending on rent, what do you think? Because all I'm looking at, because you kind of have everything broken up, which I did want to talk to you about. Do you have structure with everything you have, or is it just if you're interested in something, you open an account and you make it happen?
Yeah, I don't really have structure. I'm kind of just like, hey, I want to do this. I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
I definitely need to make a budget and like plan it out more. I actually just made a little fun Excel sheet because I enjoy messing with Excel.
That's my love language right there. Yeah. Excel sheets.
All right, well let's talk about it then.
Zayden's laughing. He's like, "What? Are you writing this down?" Okay, because you have everything kind of broken up in an interesting way, and everyone's finances kind of lays out differently. I will say yours is similar things. Like it's not these random far-fetched things that have nothing to do with the things that you care about or talk about, as far as I've noticed from talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
So here, I kind of like that I have the laptop now because I can pull it up with you. They can't see it, the lovely people at home. So we have just your credit card statement, basic spending. Do you like Don Juan's?
Okay, so with Don Juan's, it's pretty good. Like, I mean,
it's cheap and good at the same time, which is where I'm like, I like Don. What do you normally get?
You can just get like a steak burrito and it's or steak
Okay.
quesadilla, and it's pretty fire.
I get comments whenever I go on tangents about individual purchases, so I try to at least throw 2 or 3 of those.
Okay,
because I did it with Nick, who was on our last episode, and people didn't like, or no, on the episode 2, they didn't like it. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, your spending is pretty straightforward. It's just food, gas, a little shopping, a little. I mean, I see that you got the micro market in there, and I really do. I respect that. Thank you for supporting micro markets. But for the most part, it's really just basic spending. And so, out of the entire month, at least for just this area of your spending, you were at what is it? About $900. So you spent purchased $891. So not a crazy amount. So about how much do you make per month from electrical engineer?
Yeah. So I pretty much do
Try not to say the place because I remember the name, but yeah.
I pretty much do like drafting work and other stuff like that. But I make since I'm working right now, or going to school full time. It's really low right now, so I probably work like 8 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And then I'm getting paid like $13 an hour, take out taxes. So it's pretty bad right now.
Well, I mean, being in school, that makes sense.
I would say around like $200 a check, and so like $400 a month.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
In the summer, I could be making like $2,000 a month.
Yeah. Just from all
the hours I got and working.
Okay. Well, yeah. So that was just at least one of the things is just that's just basic spending just for survival as far as I've noticed. Just Walmart, a couple restaurants here and there, but for the most part, gas, Walmart, Sam's, Brookshire's, basic stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. I didn't realize I spent $891.
Well,
definitely need to check
this
that.
This is the other thing is this is just 1 month because you sent me a couple months when I was looking it over. This is just 1 month, but there's some months where you spent way less than that. There's some months you spent a little bit more. So
that's interesting.
I know that a big part of this specific one was giving $200-ish to YWAM.
Oh, okay.
So
that
which
makes sense.
that kind of is what brought it up because that was the biggest thing that you did.
Yeah.
And so that was just going over that statement. It just seemed like a normal amount of spending and nothing crazy because a lot of these episodes I've noticed is actually going through spending, but you're in a unique situation where, as far as I can tell, you actually have the discipline. You're not spending your money on crazy things.
I hate shopping, so that's like one of the biggest things that like kind of deters me from spending money. I don't know. It's something about like having to trade, your finances for something that might not be worth it.
Especially when your money that's coming in is based off your time.
Exactly.
That then makes it hard. At least for me, it makes it very hard to then go and spend $13 or $15 on a meal or $20 on a shirt or something. I'm like
that's an hour of work.
Yeah,
I'm like, what am I gonna do
3
with
hours
that?
of my life
it's
that I'm
crazy.
never gonna get back?
Yeah.
Do I really want this this item or this product?
That's kind of how I view it as well.
For sure. Okay, so then we'll move on because that's just basic spending. So in terms of cash, the thing you sent me, let me pull it up. So we're sitting on about $7,500 in cash, which I will say I think that puts you at one of the higher. Because most of this show is 18 to 25-year-olds.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you want to be on this show and you're 1825 and you're in the East Texas area, please comment down below. We need more people. Zayden doesn't want to come on, and if no one applies, he's gonna come on.
I'm too rich to come on.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta take me off the leaderboard.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay a lot more for my face.
$27 for the. No, I'm just
Deal.
kidding. But yeah, so you have about $7,500 just sitting in cash in a high yield savings account. Why do you have so much cash? Is there a reason to keep it on hand? Is it to cover bills? Is it just because you have it, you want to keep it? Why so much cash?
Yeah, so personally, I don't like the idea of having that much cash. But part of it is, emergency fund, bills, because, throughout college, I'm not really working that much. So I need to have, like, a fallback if something comes up. But also, I just don't know where to put it, in a sense. I guess I could, like, try to, dish it out, like, monthly to a Fidelity or something. I don't know.
And we'll kind of talk about that. I wanted to get your opinions on where you might put it, but because with your bills, at least if rent's $600 and basic groceries or whatever $400 or so, you only really need $1,000. So you have over maybe a little bit more for gas and stuff like that, but so you have about a 6 months emergency fund just right here, as far as I can tell from the bills that I've seen, which is good. But you're also in college working. And you have a lot of other things that I find very interesting. So do you feel that you need 6 months of an emergency fund? Or what amount would you want to keep? And this is for later on in the episode, but what amount would you want to keep as an emergency fund in cash? And what might you do with the rest?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I probably would say 3 months to 6 months would be a good estimated time for an emergency fund.
Okay.
Because, I feel like you can find work pretty easy if you're looking for it. But, 3 to 6 months would probably be an ideal time period. Okay,
so, we've got that much cash. So then we'll kind of move on to the next thing, which, how would you say you were, 20?
I'm 20, I just turned 20.
This is one of the most interesting things I've ever seen for a 20-year-old's account. Because I don't even see this in adults' accounts, because no one's thinking this far ahead and thinking in this strategic manner. So you might have to explain to some of the people watching this episode what you're in this specific area.
Okay, yeah.
But so you have $5,000 in escrow.
Okay, yeah.
Why? And what does that mean? What are you looking to buy with $5K? Okay. And also, you would make a great TikTok about how you bought a property with $5K.
Exactly. I swear, that's what I'm planning. Exactly. Yeah. So basically, I have $5,000 sitting in an escrow account. The reason is I want some property. Property, people are saying, oh, you won't be able to buy property in your lifetime if you're making $100,000 because, stupid policies and loans and other. But if you make the right choices, I believe you can. So I have $5,000 sitting in something called a tax sale. You pretty much can bid on these sales, and they're in like an auction format, and the highest bidder gets the property for like a certain amount of time. It would be really interesting to have Grayson go over it in like another video. There's so much about
I've been exploring this whole website recently because you sent me a link to it, and I'm like, I knew this was a thing. I just have never seen it laid out. Like, I've never actually like explored the websites and
it's actually
how it's all laid
really
out.
Easy to use. And so I'm like, why not try something? I'd rather try something and fail than not try it. And
you're in the prime time for that, which is where there's a lot of these, like this, your entire portfolio as a whole is so interesting to me, just because you're in so many different things where it could go really, really well and it could go really, really terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're in enough things where if one does really well, you're still going to come out on top, which I really like. Yeah. And so at least on this, what kind of property are you looking for? Because with 5K, just kind of scrolling through, you have a 10K minimum bid, 3K, 1K, 11, 2, like just kind of scrolling just in our general area right here. It's only coming up with a couple properties of 10 to 20,000.
Yeah, that'll even be able to bid on.
So what kind of property are you looking for, or is it just sitting for now?
I'm looking for land and maybe potentially a house. The thing with tax sales is you don't get the property right away. Yeah. So you have like 24 months if it's a home. So that's called the homestead law. And then 6 months if it's just land and if it's not like a primary homestead. So if I were to get land, I would try flipping it. So if I got it for, under $5,000, try selling it for $10,000 depending on how much it is. Yeah. And then if I were to get a house, I would try renting it out for the 24 months and then maybe fixing it up and selling it. But that's kind of just like the plan. Maybe I'd even live in the house if it was nice enough because, it would be amazing to have a house by the time I'm out of college.
Yeah.
And then, because, I have future aspirations of wanting to start a family. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that fuels my idea of finances. I mean, I want to be able to provide for my future family. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely a very good motivator. It pushes a lot of people, including myself, just to build more. And you end up building more faster and better. You end up having a stronger foundation, at least financially, if you're having a reason to go do it. Mm-hmm. And typically a family and providing for it is pretty common and also pretty good reason, in my opinion. So you're looking to buy property either with a house or just land to flip it.
Yeah.
Have you met anyone that's done this? Have you had experience in this, or is this something you kind of came to on your own?
I kind of came to it on my own, but I did talk to my dad a little bit about it, and he knows some people that
Is he into
did
a
it.
lot of this stuff?
He isn't really into it, but he knows some people that have done it.
Yeah.
But like way back when there was no website and you just go to the court and talk to them, and you could get it for way cheaper because there weren't people from like California or Tennessee
no one
or
knew
Florida.
It was happening. And
because now you have people like real estate firms coming from California and Florida trying to get land, and they go through a tax sale, and you can't really beat them because they
have
so
endless
much
money.
So
the infinite money glitch that is that.
Yep.
So do you think this is something you'll continue to add to, or is more of just if a good deal for $5K or less comes along, you'll take it?
Yeah.
But just kind of sitting in the back burner.
For sure. I think it's definitely something that I'm looking to if a good deal pops up, might as well try. Potentially, if by the time I'm 22 and graduated, I have more time on my hands, I would want to flip property. I think that would be a fun task.
Yeah.
And, learning the skills of building a house and what it takes to maintain a house, I think. So yeah, real estate license. I've thought about it. Probably not going to get it because I have too much that I have other aspirations.
Yeah.
So,
and that's one of those things where a lot of people have asked me if I'm going to get it because they see me doing this and they're like, you could do so well. You love talking to people about, and having them kind of accomplish their financial goals, which is a big part of why I do this, because I like talking to people who actually want to do something with their money.
Yeah.
And when you're younger, you actually, in my opinion, and this is just because I'm also younger, you have more of an opportunity. You don't have to fight your bad mistakes yet, where you've gotten tens of thousands of dollars of credit card debt or student loans, or you don't have to fight all that as much yet. You can start still kind of fresh into the finance world as an adult and really start building if you make the right decisions.
You really have so much control over your life. It's crazy.
And
you can predict where you are going to be in the future, which is
and seeing. My mom uses this analogy where she's like, or not analogy, but she quotes a lot the saying of past performance doesn't dictate future success. It's talking about the stock market, but she's mainly saying that your past actions don't have to dictate.
Yeah.
And they're not going to dictate how you are in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can be an example. Obviously, if you're disciplined in the past, it can show that you can be disciplined in the future.
Yeah.
But at least with money, I'm you don't have to worry about where you're coming from, whether it's from your family or past mistakes you might have made. You can start now and choose to become wealthy within your lifetime. And I think really anyone can do it. So you might have to explain some of this to the audience, because I understand it, but I feel like as it is your thing, you'll be able to explain it a little bit better. Yeah. So if you want to explain what this 5K is.
Okay, so
you have a little bit of 5K accounts, by the way.
I don't know. 5K
just a nice round.
It's the right number, 5K. It's just so much more marketable. I feel like. Okay,
it's a big enough amount to actually do something, but it's small enough that it's attainable.
And it seems like way better than 499,000.
Yeah.
Or I said that wrong.
Or 499. Yeah. No, I got what you're saying.
Yeah. So. Okay, so anyways, this is a group that I'm a part of. We basically come together and pool money, equity, cash value, and we use this equity to buy asset-producing properties. So, a tractor supply, gas stations, etc., things like that. And so once we have the so-called company, we run the company and we give everyone who put forth money a 4% return every month, and then at the end of 5 years they will own the equity position So they'll have the $5,000 in equity, and then they'll have a 10% return on the $5,000, and then they get their cash as well, the $5,000 cash. That's kind of crazy.
So how long does it take? Is it
5
so the
years.
term is 60?
Yeah,
Okay.
a term is 60 months. So basically, why it's good to have money just sitting. Banks really like to see it for some reason. They like to see just, oh, this person has dedicated cash sitting here, and it
adds a level of security for
Yeah.
them, but it also proves that you're not just money coming in, money immediately going out.
Exactly.
So I definitely see that.
So it's just helpful with the banks to have a promised time. And if you take out your money, you get the 4% that you had, but you don't get the 10% in the equity position. So if like an emergency comes out, I could take it out if I really needed it.
Okay. So you put the $5,000 in, and then you'll end up getting 5,500 back, or is it more? Because you have the equity position of the
is gonna be like 2,500 in the investments because it's a 10%. Or wait, no, that sounds wrong. It's 10% annually.
Oh, okay.
So
So over the
500.
5 years, it
Yeah.
compounds.
Yeah. It would
Oh,
be
okay. So it's
two-
500 the first year,
Yeah,
and
then 2,500 for
Yeah.
the end of 5 years,
Yeah.
which is pretty good return. I mean, just to have that.
So yeah, you put 5,000 in, you get 10% annually compounded
Yeah.
as a return. And so you started this in 2022, at the
Yeah.
very end of 2022. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was.
So you've basically been doing it almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Or yeah, but almost 2.
I had just turned 18. I was getting into it.
Nice. And so far it's grown about $200. Do you feel that it's going to speed up
Well,
as time goes on?
what date is that? I just kind of grabbed a random date, February 2024. So that was how many months ago?
Or wait, that's 23. Wait, no, that's first payment. Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's gone up since then. Do you know about what it's at right now? 70,000.
Yeah,
No,
it's
I'm just
actually I owed the store.
kidding. Andrew Tate could never. No, I'm
Yep.
just kidding. You
Uh,
own the store. That's wild.
I think it's around 500 now.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's gone
So
up about that
It's
10%.
about my first year, yeah.
Yeah, because that's basically okay. That's nice. Okay.
Yeah, because the first payment was when it started.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got you. So yeah, you've been in it almost 2 years now, but were you still getting there? Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
If you guys are liking the channel so far, the video, please make sure to hit that like button down below, and also
so hard not to laugh. Thank
also,
you.
Also subscribe.
I agree, guys. Please do that.
We're trying to get to 1,000. I'm saying we like I own the YouTube channel. Grayson's trying to
He
get to
owns
1,000.
95%. Is it you or is it the other Tobiah that wants to be a politician? Was it you?
It was me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was trying to remember. I had the conversation, but it was later at night. And
Yeah.
I remember
I was
moved
like,
to a
other
separate call.
Tobiah.
It was very early when we met, so I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
We
On
can.
a finance podcast?
Yeah, I mean,
I feel
That'd
like
be
there's going to be a
legendary.
lot of discussion here, which is going to be very fun. Anyway, I want to calculate this first, though, so I can keep up with your actual net worth as we're going through it. So you have...
yeah, he was supposed to do all this in the background, but
No,
I'm just kidding.
I actually do it during the episode
See,
to be
it's
most
more fun to
inconvenient
do
for
it together, you know?
Yeah, you got it.
It's
Don't forget, I
enjoyable.
told you weren't allowed to do it before the episode started.
Yeah, I can see all the stuff that you have, but Zayden gets really mad at me if I.
ASMR.
He gets really mad at me if I try to. All right.
Flush cash, baby.
Saying it gets really bad.
So you have so I'll say 5,000 in. What is this technically called?
It's just an equity. You can
Okay,
call it,
just equity.
Equity.
Congratulations. I should make trophies for this, but your net worth is currently the highest on the show so far.
Let's go! I call that a W, you know?
Yeah.
Hopefully it like stays that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Because currently, so far, out of the things we've mentioned, where you have the 7,500 in cash, 5,000 in escrow, and then you have 5,000. I'm not going to count the gains just yet because
Yeah.
I don't know the full gains. It's at
For sure.
least 200. So you're at about a $17,000 net worth of what we've talked about.
Dang.
So as you're calculating your net worth, of course, that's assets minus liabilities. Do we
Yeah.
have any liabilities? Is there any debt?
I am happy to say that I am debt free.
Dave Ramsey would have you scream right now.
Dave Ramsey
You'd
would
be
just
so
be like
happy.
bawling his eyes out, you know.
Well, until we get to the last thing.
Okay,
But-
okay.
but-
half and
but
half.
still,
half, you know.
At
it's
20
whatever.
years old, a $17,000 net worth is really good. I do want to ask, and you don't have to answer on the episode if you don't.
No,
I'm
go
gonna cut
for
what
it.
I just said, but I do want to ask, did you build all of this yourself? Was any of it given to you or inherited, or have you just slowly built this up as you've been growing into all of this?
Yeah, so I've built most of my cash. I started my first job when I was 14.
What were you doing?
So my very
Like-
first job was refereeing. So it wasn't like
okay.
a
Which
crazy
sport?
job. I did soccer.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I was like a big fan of soccer. I played it since I was like 6. So I was like, why not ref it? And so I would ref like every Saturday and make maybe $60
Yeah.
on a Saturday, and that was like from 8 to 12.
Okay.
And so it wasn't bad for just working 8 to 12, and it was a good way to start like learning a lot of what goes into a job, professionalism. And so that was my first job.
Being on time, building that habit of showing up.
Exactly. Of
working
the
the
slave
whole
mentality, you know.
The trading your
Yeah.
time for money mentality. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's really cool because I've seen a lot of different situations, and I'm sure as long as the show goes on, I'm going to see a lot more that I would have never thought of. But it is really nice to see, even if we may disagree or agree, I think we find a pretty good middle ground between the two of us on what you are invested in.
Yeah.
Having that high of a net worth, regardless of where it is, as long as it's not crypto, I think we can all agree as long as it's not crypto.
Yeah.
But having that high of a net worth at the age of 20, I think can just speak to the fact that I do think you're going to be very successful with money.
Thank you.
Besides the last thing.
Well, I do want to mention this as like a side note. So I also have made money through the college system. It kind of sounds like a scummy
is
thing
this
to
legal,
say.
Zayden, to put in the episode?
But
This isn't illegal, right?
okay, but basically what happened
No felonies yet.
is
No felonies yet? That's what he just said, guys.
I got a full ride to the college I'm going to, and
What's your dorm room number again? No, sorry.
I'm not gonna say anything. I don't want anyone to get anything about me. But
I'm going to go back. We're going to do the intro again. You're going to change your name.
Yeah, exactly. But basically, I got my FAFSA refunded to me every
For what? Why was it refunded?
because I got a full ride. So
Oh, okay.
I didn't have
So-
to pay for the tuition, so it just was refunded to me.
I never went to college. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not the brightest.
Yeah,
one
for
in the
sure. I
bunch.
understand. I just know about.
If I
FAFSA.
could make money off the college system, I should have gone.
Yeah,
but
that's exactly why I'm
yeah.
going. I mean, I'm getting a good degree out of it, and I
Yeah.
also don't have to work a ton because I'm getting paid.
Your
by
bills
the
are covered.
college.
You're building
Yeah.
that resume, and you're building
And
up
I'm building
skills.
some pretty good wealth as well.
Yeah.
So it's a.
I
win-
would.
it's
I
a-
would agree. Yeah.
It's a win-win, you know. So I don't want to sound like I just worked a ton, and that's how I got there. And I mean, I've had help from my parents. The college system really helped.
Yeah.
And it is kind of screwed up to use it. I don't know if I completely agree with my values about using the money, but I don't know. It is what it is. You
Well,
know?
I think
Take
there's-
advantage of the system.
There's. Yeah. I mean, my thing is the system is there, and I mean, you got the full ride. How it came to you, the college system is broken. I will
Yeah.
just say that.
It
It
very-
in
very
a
much
lot
is.
of different ways, most of the systems in this country are broken.
Yeah.
It is, however, you're in a very blessed country, and I think using that to your advantage, as long as it's not hurting somebody else, I genuinely don't care. Like,
Yeah.
as long as you're not stepping on somebody else to get to where you're at, which I don't think you're doing.
That's true.
Then I think you're using what you've been given very wisely. So before we go into the super fun part, that is this last part, which is not going to be the end of the episode, but it is going to be a whole entire segment of the episode. And a big part of why I wanted to have this conversation is because it's something that I don't see. Really, I've only ever seen older people get into it. Anyway, I'll go on that tangent here in a few minutes. But, okay, so I did want to kind of run through just on the accounts that we've gone over.
Yeah.
Your 5K in escrow, how long do you think you'll leave it in there? If you can't find a property, because you said you want to try to get one before you're 22,
Yeah.
if I remember right. And whether it has a house on it, you might rent it. If not, you might just buy a property and flip it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make it to the end of college, you get your degree, you graduate, and there's still 5K in escrow, then what? Are you?
Yeah,
I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, but I'm curious on where we're going to go with a lot of this money.
I've definitely been looking at it. I think I'm going to take it out by the end of the year.
Okay.
So basically you have to sign up like every 3 months to be a part of the auction.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm just a part of it for November and December. I did it in October and didn't get anything as the money's still there. But yeah, that's pretty much the plan. At the end of December, I'm going to pull it out and maybe put it in Fidelity.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm still deciding. my company does a match.
Okay.
So just starting to build up a 401k.
What's the match? Do you know?
I believe it's a 6%.
Of
so they'll
100?
match and then 6%.
Like a 100% match at 6%?
Yeah, I believe
You should
so.
hug your employer.
Yeah, they're really. Shout out to my employers. They're amazing company. They actually were like one of the best places to work by some award ceremony thing, but they're pretty solid place to work.
Well, I mean, I do a lot of things for my employer if they give me 6%. I get 3% at my job, and then I get it's 100% up till 3%, and then 50% up till their next 2%.
Yeah,
which that's a whole mouthful, but. And then when it comes to cash, so we've kind of mentioned having a Fidelity account. Do you have an inkling of what you might... I hate that word. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say inkling. But do you have an idea of what you might invest in? Or is it just more, you don't know, it's just a brokerage. You put it in something.
Yeah. So right now, I have no clue what Fidelity, like how to operate it. So I was planning on doing a little bit of research, seeing if there's like a smart way to do it. And if it's just easier to go with the brokerage and kind of just go with that, but still planning it out and seeing. Well, don't know for certain.
I think with your specific account and your layout, I would definitely keep some cash on you. And this is just my opinion as a money nerd to another. I would at least keep 3 months. Again, kind of arbitraging the college system to keep money coming in.
Yeah.
You have a job, you're building up a good resume and getting a degree, and you're building things up.
Yeah.
And so with escrow, I'd leave it in there. If you can find a property, great. If not, we can put it somewhere else.
Exactly.
But at least with your cash, I might take it down to just 3 months of expenses. Because right now you're probably sitting at close to 6. And then I take the other half, and then I would open a brokerage, whether it's to buy into an ETF or an index fund, or really I think you should
NFTs.
do retirement. I need to do a video on NFTs. I feel like that would be a fun video. Well, okay, but I would say at least with your portfolio, I think a good way to balance it out, and I'm curious what you think, a good way I think to balance it out would be is if you took some of this cash, maybe $5K. Maybe that seems to be the numbers we're rolling with.
It's the holy number.
If you when you do graduate and you get that 6% match, that would be fantastic. That's a very blessed position to be in. But at least in the meantime, if we took some of your cash and put it into a Roth IRA, that would at least start the projections of having a decent retirement fund where retirement investments seem to be a big point of conversation, at least when talking to younger people, because we don't naturally think of when we're old and decrepit and awful and can't
we don't
work.
Really plan ahead nowadays.
But because we're immortal until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
But actually investing now, look, the property escrow, that could pay off really great. You could lose all of it, but there is very high potential that you're going to buy a piece of land. If you hold it, if you flip it, whatever you do with it, there's good reward there for the risk that you're taking.
Yeah.
The 5,000 equity, same exact thing. There's risk, but there's also a good reward. Having an actual steady baseline of I can put a few thousand into retirement and just forget about it. It's a part of your net worth. Your net worth wouldn't change, but it would go up a decent amount every year. I think that would definitely add at least a little bit to your portfolio, a little bit of a safety net.
Yeah.
And I did want to, after the episode, I will buy you a book. There's a book by Ramit Sethi called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. It point blank explains.
I do love my books.
Yeah, it's very... Actually, I have a copy out there. I'll give it to you. But there's an entire chapter that actually lays out, go to Vanguard. They have a Fidelity version. But go to your brokerage, open this account. It's a target date fund. Then you can just forget about it. It's a Roth IRA. So you just... How old are you? 20? So
20, yeah.
You'll probably...
I'm like that person that you hear about in all the... like all the examples.
Oh, yeah.
This could be you when you start at 20.
Yeah. Do this when you're 20 years old. So you'll be 65 and 45 or no. 45 years. So that would be so you could do a target date fund of either 2065 or 2070. They go in 5-year increments.
Yeah.
And then you just put as much as you're willing to put in. The max for a Roth IRA is $7,000 this year. Yeah. So you put a couple thousand in and just kind of let it grow over time. And then that can kind of be where, as you're taking these risky investments, at least you're balancing it out with some security, knowing that I might have crazy wild things that could work out, and if they do, that'll just add to my overall portfolio. But if they fail, I'm not back at zero.
Yeah.
It also limits your ability to pull out from it. It's very difficult to pull out of retirement. And so while you could put money into just a basic index fund or ETF, which I think you could do at a certain point, I think especially when you're full-time, we might have different goals of saying, like, once you have an actual full-time income, there's different things you can do with your money.
Yeah, for sure.
But
there's lots of opportunity opens up.
Yeah, and especially if you can keep your bills as fantastic as they are now.
Yeah, exactly.
What is with people on this show and having fantastic bill situations?
There's one thing I wanted to mention about the tax sale. It's not as risky as like people presume it to be, because if you do like buy a piece of property and they have the opportunity to buy it back, but they have to pay you a 25% fee.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
which is kind of crazy. And if you have it for a year,
wait, 25% of
what you paid.
Oh,
so if you pay
okay.
5,000, 25% of 5,000, which pretty good, 1,250.
Yeah.
And then at the end of like 1 year, let's say they buy it back during the 1 year to 2 year period, they have to pay 50%. So that's
2,500. So regardless, you would make money off the ordeal.
You would make money, yeah.
So you get your original investment back, I would think, right? Or would you just get the 2,500 back?
You get your original.
Okay.
They pay 5,000 in the
and
investment.
then the additional.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So
It's
that
pretty neat.
And then they only have the 2 years to buy it back.
Yep. And once the 2 years, it's your property. You own it.
You know, I have $5,000. I should. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, pull it together. Let's do this together.
Do a 10K. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could buy a lot better
That
property.
actually makes me feel a lot better.
Write that down.
Write that down for the business.
Yeah.
No, but that actually makes me feel a lot better about the escrow account, because I didn't consider it high risk, especially you have equity positions in companies that you don't directly influence.
Yeah.
That I consider far more riskier.
That is pretty risky. Yeah.
Now, however, I did have somebody tell me the other day that they are gambling as their form of investing. Like,
Hey,
quite literally
that's-
sports betting.
Okay, that's crazy though, because like with gambling, you can get up to like a
Oh,
$10,000
shut
return.
up.
It's crazy.
Oh my God.
$10,000 return. Think about it. If you were to make $10,000 on the $10,000 return,
He's being serious. No, I'm
no,
just kidding.
in all serious though.
99%
Yeah.
of gamblers quit right before the deadline. Okay, remember that.
Exactly. Keep going. You
That's
got
wild.
this. You
You need to commit.
You know what's crazy?
Consistency.
I've barely told anyone this, but I started a TikTok channel of me opening lottery tickets.
You should still tell less people.
And voiceovering.
No, I'm just
I was voiceovering myself.
Did you find that
opening
from the
lottery
Mr.
tickets.
The Mr. Beast video?
I may have went with the Mr. Beast strat.
You keep opening lottery
I
tickets.
just thought it was
until,
funny.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to be like, you guys, you want to know who fuels your lottery addiction? It's actually the government.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Well, I mean,
like,
most lottery tickets are bought in lower income areas.
yeah, and it's ran by the government, which is
Yeah.
kind of crazy. Like they're pretty much just.
Also,
like,
I
pushing
did a
down the lower
video.
income.
It was, by the way, guys, it was my lowest performing video on the entire channel. But besides the point,
go watch that.
Yeah,
up
go
in the
watch
corner.
that. It's gonna link up there.
Yeah.
I don't actually blame it. It doesn't match with this channel, so I totally understand it. But I actually did make a video on what I would do if I won the lottery.
Oh, I saw that.
And
yeah.
so
That
you're
was
the
like-
only one.
That was actually one of the ones I watched.
You're the only
Yeah.
person who have watched that. No, but no. So it was where if I won $100 million,
You would put 10 million.
26% is immediately taken by the government.
Yeah.
So
it's
they
crazy.
immediately make 26 million.
It's crazy.
And
I
I'm
mean,
like, it-
yeah.
I mean, I'm only left with $74 million. So I guess it kind of.
And then you put
Ah,
10 million in
boo-hoo.
your AP high yield savings.
Yeah. No. Well.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna do. Right?
Well, I did. Yeah. And
is-
go watch the video. I do explain what I would do if I won $100 million. But
Which is interesting because like, isn't there a limit to like how much you can
there
put?
probably is. If I couldn't put it, I didn't want
You
to.
just do,
I
like, a
could
ton of
literally
tiny
go down a
ones.
rabbit hole of what I could put in specific accounts, and this was just off the top of my head what I came up with. There are money market accounts I could put an actual 10 million in, or a mutual fund that I could pull from, or an ETF that I could pull from.
Yeah.
And at 10 million, I could take the capital gains hit on taxes
Yeah.
just based off of how much I'm pulling out.
Kinda
But
crazy.
yeah, there is probably a limit to where I can get my money, but
Yeah.
it's probably $1 million if I remember right, because I feel like there was a disclaimer.
I think
it's
there's,
also
like-
not FDIC insured.
Yeah,
after a
exactly.
specific point.
Once it's like above 250,000, I think it's not
Yeah.
insured. So like if you get robbed,
And if I get
the
a
bank
really
is
good
robbed-
bank, I might could get a $2 million
Yeah.
policy, but for the FDIC insurance. But yeah, anything above that. So maybe I would do a little bit less, or I just use the 10 mil as my like invest it, because I still end up a billionaire at the end of that video. Dang,
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Go watch the video to find out how you became a billionaire.
Just
and
play the lottery, apparently.
Yeah, if you want him to actually like go into act it out in real life.
No, I'm gonna spend my entire life savings.
You should like and comment. Go buy a lottery ticket.
We're gonna go buy lottery tickets.
Yeah, exactly. We should gas
for the memes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all. Really, there's not much, at least so far, of what we've talked about. There's not much I would really change. Other than that, I would want to move some of your cash into what can be your stable baseline of this is at least protecting my future in a very secure. And the portfolio can have a dynamic mix where maybe there's a little risk in the portfolio.
Yeah.
But it's still secure enough in things like the S&P 500 or similar things to it where it's not going to drop as dramatically as how much you could lose in escrow or equity or things like that.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things, though. I'm like a little bit, it's kind of inherited fear, but I'm a little bit afraid of the stock market in a sense. My parents, they started one way back when. It was before 2008, and then they lost a lot of it in the 2008 crash. So like they kind of passed on that fear in a sense.
Well, there was a book, I can't remember his name for some reason, but The Psychology of Money, where it just lays out the fact that your parents lost a lot of money in the stock market, so that is then passed down on to you.
Yeah.
If somebody was in the exact same situation as you but born 3 years later, and their parents were born 3 years later, and then they invested 3 years later,
exactly,
they're going to love the stock market, and they're going to think it's the greatest thing ever. So everyone has a different opinion. I kind of fall in the sense of invest in the things you know and that you understand. Yep. You should technically be able to explain it to a child of how they make money, how you make money, how long you have to be in it, like the basic questions.
How everyone wins, you know?
Yeah. And then the other part of that is also because if you don't understand the stock market or you're very risk averse in the stock, you don't want to take any risk in the stock market, and you just want to be as secure as possible, then just invest in the S&P 500. Yeah. Like even if it does go down, you have to acknowledge the fact that it is so old and there's so much history there that you can see that at any two given points.
It just climbs up.
Yeah, it's going to continue to
go up.
That's
partly due to inflation.
Yeah, it is beating inflation.
Yeah.
By a good bit. I will say that. But it does keep up where if you just put money in, it is like mine currently is at like 14%.
That's
which
crazy.
is very good. It was just purely timing. It wasn't, I didn't do anything to get that. But just at that 14%, it's going to continue to go up. It'll probably average out to be about 10.
Yeah, the one I'm really excited about is the Texas one. Have you looked into that at all? Yeah. I don't know when it's coming out, but I want to get into some of that when it comes out.
I am very eager to see, and I don't talk about politics a lot on this channel, but I'm eager to see when the Texas one comes out, if this is the beginning of Texas seceding.
That's interesting, yeah.
Because this has been a long conversation for decades now of is Texas going to secede and become its own not little, we're amazing. Everything's bigger here.
Yeah, we would be like ranked 7 in like a lot of things.
Well, we supply most of the military. I mean, we're self-sustaining.
We have our own power grid.
Yeah.
I mean, we
can't survive the cold apparently, but if we were our own country, we probably could. But
yeah, exactly, you know. It's the Texas pride in us that wants it. It's just Texas pride.
Yeah. But so that's where I might put a little cash into that retirement and explore your own options, picks what's good for you. When you read that book, there is a lot of conversation about how everyone has different feelings and stuff like that about what they want to invest in. At the end of the day, your 401k is in the stock market. So if you're willing to put money in your 401k, even it's going to make a return. You may not know what the return is going to be, but it will go up over history. It will go up, assuming it's not Costco, where apparently, I didn't know this, Costco just recently started making it to where they can have, like they would give their employees stock options, but they could have 100% stock options.
They could choose all the stocks
they could say, like, I want 100% of my money to be invested in Costco stock.
That's crazy.
And then they recently had to limit it to 50% or less because everyone made so much money. Yeah, it performed so well the past few years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm like, that's wild. So there's
kind of like Nvidia. like most.
Yeah,
of it,
like over the past
I
like
think
5
it's-
years, it's trillions up.
Yeah,
now.
I think it's like 66% of their employees are millionaires,
Yeah.
and like 30% of them are multimillionaires.
Yeah.
because of the
Just
stock.
the stock. Yeah.
because they got paid out in the stock, and they don't have like a ton of employees to begin with, but
It's just the
66% of
company's
employees
growth,
is kinda
especially due to
crazy.
COVID.
Yeah.
Everyone was
way it
upgrading their
shot up.
technology, including me.
Yeah.
Everyone was, all the churches, schools, businesses, really everybody was just improving the quality of their technology.
Yeah, and then their AI integration, the stuff
Yeah.
they're doing with AI is incredible.
And also, have you played Minecraft with RX graphics? It's fantastic.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but
Beautiful.
Zayden popped out when we said that. I like Minecraft. No, but yeah, okay. So we'll kind of move on here. That would be my only real thing, because I think you're doing very well with all the money that you've earned and the way that you're diversifying it up until this point. I will say I do have a lot of questions for you about what we're about to go into, and
All right, I think this is the moment.
This is the moment. Okay.
This is what we've all been waiting for.
So you sent me a screenshot.
Yeah, this screenshot
is
might
so
go
official.
up. This screenshot might go up. I
You
just
want-
sent him
do you
a
have your
screenshot.
phone?
I do have my
Can
phone. Yeah.
Can you pull it up on
Yeah,
your
we
phone?
can just pull it up.
And can you text me
the-
another screenshot on Discord? No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to text
You can
me.
take as many screenshots as you want.
Getting to the end, the whole segment that this entire show has been building to. This is where I'm going to yell at you now. I'm just kidding. You have, and you pay into, whole life insurance.
I do, yeah.
Tell me about it. What brought, hold on. I'll ask more directed questions. I
Yeah.
need to start over. How did you find it?
Okay.
How did you find whole life insurance? We'll go one by one.
Okay, we'll go one by one.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way I found whole life insurance is through my father. I mean, he was kind of the big proponent of getting it started in my life. He was familiar with like the infinite banking
Mhm.
idea, and so that's what he wanted to do, and he just wanted me to start early rather than later. And the idea was, we're part of the TCC I've mentioned. They do some things with whole life that most people don't do as like a single person.
Yeah.
So that was also another benefit that I saw in it. And also like the idea of if I die, my parents will get some money. You know, that kind of sounds nice. And it saved my parents. Here's a throwback, right? So we talked about the ideas that like kind of form your financial awareness and stuff. Well, it saved my parents quite a couple of times because they're missionaries and they're pretty poor. So they would just like, instead of taking out a loan against like a bank, they took it against themselves. And it was pretty helpful because they would store money that they could, because that money would have been spent other places.
Yeah.
But instead they had it saved away that they could use as a loan for themselves.
Sure. Yeah.
So it saved them in a couple circumstances, which that's the biggest reason my dad used it. But now there might be extra benefits coming our way. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And so do you want to kind of explain your policy of what you've kind of signed up for, what you have to pay in and what you get out of it? Or
Yeah.
do you want to try to lay out, because we can bounce off each other if you want and bounce ideas off each other,
sure.
but do you want to lay out what whole life insurance is? Because I feel like for a lot of people watching this episode, whole life is one of those things at the very top of the pyramid. It's a very high level financial conversation.
Yeah.
Because first you got to figure out, like in the pyramid of financial conversations, the basic ones are income. That's the vocabulary.
Yeah.
It's basic income, expenses, like basic lingo. Then you move up a little bit, then it's taxes and loans and interest rates. Whole life is one that's up there. You have to have a good financial knowledge of the bottom two to really understand that niche kind of conversation.
Yeah, it's definitely like a small area of expertise, and you really got to understand it if you want to make it beneficial.
Yeah,
I would say. And I really don't have like a huge understanding, but I'm lucky to have some people that do have a better understanding and that can explain. So I'm still learning as I go. Like I have no like deep understanding. I want to get a better understanding so I can, help other people eventually if I see it being fruitful in my own life, because I don't want to give someone an idea that isn't fruitful if it hasn't first.
If it's not working for you.
Yeah, exactly. So if it hasn't like given me the rewards that I am expecting from it, I'm not going to go tell other people to sign up for it, because that would kind of be a bad move,
Yeah.
The whole life insurance for most people is simply just a way to guarantee their family some money if they die. So that's kind of the biggest part of whole life. You also have the aspect of some money you put in, you can use it as cash value and loan out against yourself. So let's say you save enough cash value, you could take out and loan against yourself if you want to buy a new car rather than loaning against a bank. And I believe it's at like a way lower interest. And you don't really have to pay the interest off because it's your own money. But that's kind of the idea of being your own bank. That's where that comes into fruition. And then you also get some dividends. The dividends aren't very high. Like, you can definitely get better dividends from the Fidelity stock market, doing a Roth IRA, doing a business. You know, there's so many other things that would yield way
That's
more.
not why somebody goes into it. It's just a nice little perk.
It's just a nice perk.
Yeah.
And it's not high dividends, so it's not you're not going to be a millionaire from that. Shouldn't be expecting that. But the main reason is a lot of banks use it as a Class 1A asset. And so they kind of leverage it because they have this guaranteed money coming in from these insurance companies. And they leverage that to buy loans. And then once you have a loan, you can pay off the loan and then resell a loan. I don't know if I'm not super familiar with the idea of reselling loans.
Yeah.
I just know it happens. And that's the idea of how you can do it. So you could get like a property, resell that loan, and buy another property in a sense. But I'm still learning a lot, so that's kind of my general understanding. I'm sure y'all have a ton of questions at home, but
yeah, and that's where like it's an ongoing, because again, it's at the very top where it's one of those high level conversations where it takes a while to fully understand it, and at the same time, every policy is a little bit different, and so I don't want to come in and, well, I'm definitely going to make a documentary at some point. I don't want to come in and just immediately go off on it. I do, however, I do have a lot of questions, and I also just have a lot of thoughts.
I would definitely say it's not for everyone.
Yeah,
for sure.
Why? Why wouldn't it be for everyone? I am curious.
Well, one, it's definitely harder to understand, and if you don't have that group mentality of like coming together and forming something out of it, I mean, it's not really going to give you the return you're wanting to see.
Sure.
I mean, it is a nice benefit that your family will get money once you die, but if that's the main reason you want to do it, go for it. But in better sense, if you're trying to do it as an investment, it's not a good investment, I would say.
So whole life insurance is kind of set up to be part life insurance, where you're actually getting a policy where if you die, there's a policy that has paid out. Yeah. And then the other half of it is as an investment vehicle, where there's money growing. You can take you mentioned taking a loan out against it. Yeah. How much do you pay in is my question. Yeah, so this is a big one. I pay a $3,000 premium annually. So it's not terrible. I've definitely seen higher accounts. What's your like if you die, what happens? My family would get like a $260,000 paycheck. I don't. I can pull it up. You can pull it up if you want. As the death benefit. Oh, where'd I put my phone? Oh, my phone. Oh, it's right there. It's in the background. We're not supposed to touch. Yeah. I'm just kidding. Yep, my phone. Here, while you're pulling that up, I'm gonna Google my notes so I know what to yell at you for. He has a whole list of questions that he's gonna yell at me. No, that is part of. Like, we've talked about this a lot, and we've had late night, like, Discord conversations about this exact thing because it is such a controversial thing. You don't well, it's not even controversial anymore. You just don't really hear about whole life. It kind of, it was a big thing in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, and then it kind of died off. Yeah. And now it's slowly coming back. Oddly enough, since we've talked about it. Yeah. Well, since we've talked about it, I'm going to make a video now that you've said no, I'm just kidding. But it's slowly died off in the past few decades, and now it's starting to come back because since we've talked about it, I've heard it mentioned everywhere. And maybe it's just... Maybe you're just like hypersensitized. Yeah, like, I think it is just because my phone's listening to me. But I did literally, and I told you this the other day, I literally had like a UPS delivery driver. He just like got out of his truck, walked inside, handed me a package at work, and was like, "Have you ever considered buying whole life insurance?" And I'm like, "What? Matrix? What?" It's so bold. Like
That's crazy.
And I'm like, not from you, man. Just give me my multi-tool that I ordered on Amazon 2 weeks ago and it's late.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing. Oh, okay. So here we go. We got the policy. Okay. So the current policy details. Can I say them? Can I read them off?
Yeah.
So your social. No, I'm just kidding. The current policy is $269,000. So you pay $3,000 a year. How long does it take to actually get the cash value? So if you're paying $3K a year as a premium, it's my understanding that you're going to be paying that for at least a few years before you really start to see. I mean, how long have you had it? Because you're currently
had it for 2
at
years. Yeah. So
okay.
I am way under cash value.
Yeah, because right now you're only at about 4,700.
According to the charts, I don't think I will be above the cash value until like 20 years. So it's kind of crazy.
And by that point, you will have put in a lot.
Yes.
Does the premium go up as your income goes up?
No, it stays 3,000.
It's always 3,000?
It's a flat 3,000.
Okay.
At least with the Mass Mutual, I'm
and I'm guessing if you increase the policy, then it would go up. But just if you stay at that policy, it would do that. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
What's interesting, I learned this the other day. It's called Mass Mutual because it's a mutual fund, kind of. Did you know this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I Googled it before the show.
Yeah, Mass Mutual is a mutual fund.
I didn't Google anything about you, but I Googled that.
Yeah. The dividends you get you pretty much own like a little bit of the company. That's where you get the dividends from.
Yeah.
That's just kind of crazy. I did not know that. But that's kind of, it does make sense why people want to sell life insurance because you do get more benefits if you sign up more people because, you know.
Because you're getting that upfront commission by the first few years that you're paying for it. And I don't mean to cheat by having Google in front of me.
Oh, no, you're fine.
So, again, I don't want... This was a big thing where I want to bring on people with different investments. I want to bring on people with different financial points of view and investments. And so I don't want... A lot of this show is based off of Financial Audit, which is a show where he just drills into people. He goes off on people.
That's great.
Caleb Springer, goes hard on people about their money and their financial decisions.
Yeah.
I'm not that. You're an adult. You're making financial decisions. I have no sway over that.
Yeah.
It's not my life. So I just want to ask questions and figure out as much as I can. Now, if I happen to release a YouTube video in a month from now about how awful this is as an investment, that's besides the point. But I didn't want this episode to be where we go get super heated back and forth, which is why that intro was so funny. But so I did want to ask, so you mostly got into this because your dad did it.
Yes. Correct.
Have you... let me think of how I want to ask that because I know that, and I just Googled it. Again, I'm cheating. I'm using Google. But the premiums are usually a lot higher for the whole life as opposed to term life insurance, which is what is typically recommended for the same kind of policy. Yeah. So can you explain, would you be able to explain why it's so much higher? Why whole life, the premium is so much higher as opposed to a term?
Well, I think the premium would be higher. This is just from my thoughts, but because it's like ranging for your whole life rather than like pausing at terms.
Sure. Okay.
Do you get money back? I'm not like super familiar with
so that's where...
Do you get money back with term? Like once you're done finishing the term, do you get your money back?
So this is kind of where whole life insurance, the reason I'm so against it is more because it's insurance. It shouldn't be an investment vehicle. And if it is an investment vehicle, I want my investment vehicles to be making 8 to 12%.
Yeah, so you're more against it like as an investment vehicle, than
which is why people get it.
Yeah,
and then that's why
I got it. So like, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, and so I think it does make money. It has to, or else no one would buy it. Yeah, it does make money, and it is an investment vehicle. I don't dispute that. My thought is you're paying a lot more, and if you're just, as somebody who's watching this video, if you are just looking for life insurance, where if you die, there's a payout and you get money, you can get a lot more for your money if you go with term. For sure. This is where I think we go find some middle ground of it kind of is up to the person and their current life situation and kind of how they are as a person. Is this something they just want the coverage? Like, because me, I just want the coverage. Yeah. I'll find my other investment vehicles.
And it's probably pretty
I just want to know if I die, there's money.
How difficult is it to, like, get a high yield term, though? Like, if you were to die, how much would you get, you know?
On your phone, on SoFi, because you have a SoFi account, for $5 you can get started. and I want to say it's $100,000 policy.
That's pretty good.
Oh, it might be a little bit lower than that, but
the biggest question
for like $1 a day, you could, because life insurance as a whole, from a financial perspective, is supposed to replace your income. Yeah. If you die, you should be able to invest that money and it cover your income so that the person it's left to or the people it's left to or don't have to rely or don't have to go out and find a new income. Yeah. You're in a way still providing for it.
Exactly.
And so it's typically, I do know, and I'm not even cheating and using Google for that. I do know that term is like, how do I word that? It's like every $100 that you're spending on life insurance, you'd have to spend $95 with whole life to get $5 on term, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
But you're getting a different thing, which is where the conversation then becomes whole life is a whole different thing, pun intended.
Yeah. So if I'm 60 though, can I get term life? Like, is there a time term life comes off?
Okay. Well, the policy itself will turn. Like, how do I put this?
The policy gets lowered. Like,
kind of. It changes though. At least as my understanding is term is typically here. I'll Google it, or we can Google it. How long is a typical term life insurance?
Just a moment. Technical difficulty.
Yeah. Or 10 to 30 years. And then so you kind of renew it as time goes on. Yeah. Or you get a different policy. I know for me, mine, I want to say is like 15 years. I know my dad renews his, I think every like 10 years. He'll get a new or upgrade his policy.
Interesting.
As his income goes up. And so there are certain life situations that do affect if you can get term life insurance. Yeah. For example, like if you're not working, it's going to be more difficult. It also wouldn't make sense to get a policy if you're not working because there's no income to replace. But if you have certain medical things, if you have certain medical things or disabilities or anything like that, it can affect it. Yeah. However, I think that is a less bigger problem in your life insurance is not the biggest thing. If you already have a disability that's stopping you from working, you have a bigger problem. Yeah. And so I don't think whole life insurance, I don't know. That would be a much longer conversation than what we could fit into one episode. And it can get very specific very quickly. Yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, 10 to 30 years. But.
Yeah. I think for sure, like in the next 5 years, we'll see where it goes. Mm-hmm. And based off of that, we'll maybe we can come back, do like another episode.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
See what happened from then to now and see if I still support it or whether I'm like, I got out of it. Yeah. But I would support it just in my case. Like, I might not just go tell everyone to go get life insurance, especially at the moment because I haven't got the returns that I'm expecting yet.
For sure. Well, yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Any so, that questions brings about life insurance?
I think that we could talk about this for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I think that was the big part of the episode was just kind of listening to you. I don't know what questions I would have at the moment, just because it is so specific to a specific instance. So without going necessarily into just your instance and nitpicking every little thing, I just want to consider it as a whole. Is it a good life? I keep making that pun, but is it a good position for you? So as far as I know, you've already paid a good amount into it, at least comparatively to the rest of your net worth. Yeah. And so you're sitting at about a $22,000 net worth now. Did you know that? Did you know your net worth was $22,000?
I think I knew it was around like $20,000.
Around that, yeah. So you're sitting at about a $22,000 net worth, with the bulk of it being in equity, escrow, and whole life insurance. Wow, I'm tired. Sorry, I totally blanked.
He hates whole life insurance, but somehow
I slept like 2 hours last night. No, but so with the bulk of it being split up between those three, it kind of leaves where we go back to that you don't have that secure
for sure
line. So I think that would really be my last critique, would just be add a secure line within all of that where there's some security of knowing you at least have retirement or a investment that is more historically secure.
Yeah, more historically proven.
So that those risks that you are taking, if they do pan out, and if they don't, you're balancing it out. And so typically, we end the episode for the most part with just creating a budget.
Okay.
Is there anything else you wanted to mention on whole life insurance before we move on to the budget?
No, I think that's everything I have. I mean, I dropped a lot of my knowledge there
Yeah.
about what I understand about it. So I think that's
Absolutely.
probably where we should end it.
And definitely leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't attack him. Attack me. No, I'm just kidding.
You can
But-
attack me.
Oh, well,
I'll take
he
it.
volunteered for it. Go for it, guys. Move. Breach. No, I'm just kidding.
Send the troops.
Dang. So, yeah, we typically in the episode, which is kind of creating a budget and kind of making a plan for your money going forward. If you do it or not, that's up to you. You're a grown person. This is just for my entertainment and their entertainment on a YouTube video.
For sure.
So we'll start with the budget. So we'll just kind of go through and create a quick, rough one for you.
Yeah.
Because I do know that this will change pretty quickly. Obviously, if you're working during the summer or as soon as you graduate, you're going to go full time.
Yeah.
But at least for the next few months, it should be at least somewhat useful. So rent, at least you said about 600.
272.
Oh, that's right. And
Like
then you have
270.
like other. It's
Utilities, which is like 60.
utilities. What'd you say? Sorry.
60.
60?
Like around 60. It
Okay.
varies.
You're right.
I actually did create like a little Excel
Oh, yeah?
sheet. I was telling you.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But it's definitely not like full yet. Like I
Yeah.
haven't even put in my rent yet.
Here.
I'm starting in November, for sure.
Okay. I just have a basic.
Oh, yeah.
Going on a tangent, but I've made a YouTube video on it. It's on the channel where I just kind of go through this basic. I break down my income.
He has a hustle. That's pretty cool.
Well, that's just
That's
I
like side
always end up
hustles.
with extra money,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah, I
I've
know what you mean.
noticed I have a net worth timeline where I can see my net worth broken down as time goes
Interesting.
on.
Yeah, I should
And
add something
so
like that.
I've kind of broken it down, and it goes up and down as things goes on. And there's certain things I don't count, so I don't really count any assets that I actually have, because that value of that changes so drastically month over month. Like it could, some of my asset, like I technically have like $4,000 playing card collection. It's gone up and down over time. It's so weird that
That's
I have
crazy.
that.
Wait,
but
did you just like decide? Oh, I want to get a 4,000.
well, I did Magic in high school,
Oh,
and
that's crazy.
and then I slowly moved away from Magic and more into cardistry, which is the art of shuffling cards.
Yeah,
And so then over time, I just started buying more and more decks of cards.
that's crazy. And
Well,
one of them just like skyrocketed.
There is a team called Virtuosos, and they really took off. And so a lot of their decks are worth a lot more. A lot of their older ones are worth a lot more. I have a few signed decks, a lot of sealed decks that have just, they're rare now.
That's crazy. Like I've always wanted to like mess with cards because I think
Yeah.
it's super cool. Bro,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to show me some.
Yeah,
of that. Like,
they're out there in
maybe
the-
we just
in
see him
the
pull them out right
hallway.
now.
Yeah.
Like, that's super cool. That's
But
crazy.
yeah, so but that kind of thing, it goes up and down and things like that, and then
Yeah.
as well as this whole setup and this whole
Yeah, I mean this is
thing,
part
it's
of like an investment.
probably like $12,000 worth of equipment. That's some. I'm trying to. I would
His
have to
address
take an
is.
inventory. Wait. So things like that, where if anything was to go wrong and I had to completely liquefy my net worth, it would be astronomically higher than that number.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't want to do that, so I just go off of pure liquidity.
Okay, cool.
Any investments, and this is
I think
just
that's a smart way to do it.
that was just for September. So October it changed a good bit, and then going into November, now that my income has gone up with this new job, now that my income has kind of gone up, it changes a little bit, and hopefully we're going to see it improve. Which is also why I love this tab down here at the bottom, which is this projections tab, where I can see
super
by
cool.
2030 my net worth would probably end up being around. It changes depending on what I end up doing.
That's
but-
crazy. He's got a good number down there.
It's very nice, but it could completely change because this is just projections
Yeah.
based off of if
We go to
I'm
war?
just do I?
We're cooked.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's things where it's like everything could change. If,
Atomic bomb? Cooked.
I mean, no. But if Lauren goes back to work, if my income changes at all, if
raise,
YouTube
yeah,
starts
something
making
like
more money, if I end up having to spend more and save and invest less, if I can somehow save more money and spend and invest more,
Side hustle pops off.
It,
things like that.
exactly, yeah. It's just
100%.
more of just kind of laying everything out and predicting it. I'm going on a whole tangent. This episode's supposed to be about creating a budget
Yeah.
for you.
No, like,
But-
I think that's crazy. I need to, like, definitely get on
Actually
top of my
sitting
game
down,
do
and then on
something
top
like
of that, just
That's super neat.
huge part of budgeting is actually looking at previous months. So you can see here, like this is July, which is this was the first month that we actually, June would have been it. This was the first one that I actually made a spreadsheet. And we can really see my spending and everything was absolutely out of control. And so the first months of doing this, a lot of it was I put $1,800 into the business. I put a lot into eating out and groceries, and we were trying to eat super healthy that month and farm fresh everything. and then I just
I'll get
accepted
ya.
I
I'll
lost
get you,
round.
yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But as time goes on, hopefully, like it's just good to track it, because that's the other half of budgeting is looking in the past, seeing what you've done, and looking in the future to see where you can go.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll go back.
I've never really like seen that aspect of budgeting of looking into the future. I think that's really neat.
Yeah,
definitely neat.
And that definitely it also adds
incorporated.
because like just other, it like shocked me. Oh, that felt weird.
The mic shocked you?
Yeah, like I
crazy.
hit it and that felt so weird. But you can see by 2026, I should be in the six figures.
Yeah.
By my net worth, if I follow this exactly.
Yeah.
The cool thing that this does is this does not count actual gains. So if I'm like
crazy.
all my investments, if I'm sitting at
So that's just like
40 or 50,000 invested, it doesn't actually count what it could have gone up month over month and year over year.
Potential.
Yeah. So this is just if it was just cash, I would hit six figures in 2026.
Yeah, that's super neat.
Which is just wild to think about. But yeah, so that's where I want to at least leave you with a budget so that you're at least walking away with something. So your rent $272, utilities $60. What else we got? What recurring bills do you got? Let me think.
I have no other recurring bills. Those are pretty much my.
We got to eat. Let's see.
Groceries.
How much do you think you spend? Everyone's wrong on this if they've never tracked it.
Okay, I think I would spend around 200 to 300.
Okay, I'll give you 350.
350. Sheesh.
And then gas, how much do you think you spend on gas? Typically everyone's right on this.
I would say around, I fill up maybe 100.
Like, oh, you spend 100 a month?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a Prius, so.
And then do you pay for your car insurance or no?
I don't pay for my car insurance.
Perfect.
My parents,
and
bless
then
their heart,
you pay for your phone?
they're a big reason. No, I don't pay for my phone.
Okay.
Either.
And then anything else?
Legends. No, that's it.
Dude, you're going to be rich. I'm telling you right now. So you're looking at $782 to survive. And that's eating real good at $350.
Hey, steaks every night.
Absolutely. Right? Steaks from Taco Bell. Anyway, no, but to have $600, that actually puts where I was talking about lowering your savings account to just 3 months. If you're at $782, we'll make it $800. That's $7,800. I hate the new calculator on iOS 18. That's all you need in your savings account for 3 months of just basic rent, utilities, food, gas, $2,400 for 3 months, and you're set. That leaves about $5,000 that you can just, which you seem to like. You seem to like the $5,000 numbers.
Hey,
you
5,000.
Put that in retirement. You could split that between retirement and just a normal investment brokerage. But really, you could set yourself up to really create a strong baseline and diversify. Because actually, that would be a very good mix. If you had $5K in some form of retirement or a secure stock portfolio, $5K in escrow, $5K in equity, and then about $5K in whole life insurance, and you'd still have about 3 to 4 months of cash on hand.
Yeah.
And if you continue, I mean, you're honestly in a very good position I could really see your net worth growing substantially over the next few years.
Yeah.
You might even beat me. No, I'm just kidding. But
hey, it's not a competition. Not a competition.
His net worth's higher than mine. No. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that should be it. Yeah.
All right.
Pretty solid.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and thanks for having me. It was nice.
This is awkward. This is like the curtains are closing, but they haven't yet.